Hi there, welcome back to my channel. My name's Christine. Tonight I want to talk about feeling overwhelmed when you start your YouTube channel and various things you can do to help break it down. So the first place I would start is to remember your purpose for starting the channel. We all have our own reasons why we do it. For me, it was personal development. I was interested in learning new skills. I wanted to try something fun and something new, and technology was never, it wasn't that it wasn't a strong point for me, but it was definitely not something I ever really delved into at all. I'm quite a creative person. I've always been used to doing things with my hands. That's where I found my peace, but I never really thought of applying that regarding technology. So it was really new and, to be quite honest with you, a little bit daunting. When I started, I discovered, actually, to be honest, that an awful lot of the software that you use when you're making YouTube videos, whether it's editing or whether it's the different software programs for designing, maybe a logo or an icon, they're all very advanced now. And my recollection of computers were clunky old things from the past. So I never really realised how simplified they have made things, which really takes an awful lot of pressure off. It definitely, if you have an interest in it, it makes it a lot easier for you. So I suppose the point I'm trying to say is, remember that you're doing this for you and you want to make it enjoyable, you want to make it fun, and to really approach it with an open mind and from a creative perspective. You're curious, you're looking into what you're doing, and you're learning something new every day. So it is really actually a very exciting thing to undertake. Also to note at this point is that starting a YouTube channel is so basic, you need very little to start. All you really need is access to a smartphone or an iPhone or whatever device you have. I've been recording my videos on just the desktop, the laptop, so it's very, very basic. And always remind yourself as well that even just by starting the process, by setting up the account, that in itself is already progress. So you're one step ahead even from the very start. Every single day you're going to be acquiring new skills. Every time you delve in, you discover something. Most of it is relatively easy, once you apply yourself. So that's the first point I would make. Don't be too daunted by the whole process. It's not as difficult as you may think when you actually begin. So the next point I want to make is just about breaking the whole process down into simple steps. I like to see this in two ways. There's the creative side of things and there's also the technical side of things. Now, my preference is always going to be the more creative side of things. I like trying new things. I like dabbling and experimenting with new stuff. Anything that gets the imagination going is definitely my preference. So from the creative side of things, you're looking very much so at planning what you're going to use, what your content is going to be about, what you're going to say, what your story is going to be about. And there's also a lot of writing involved. So to simplify things for you, you're going to be jotting down your ideas. You're going to be maybe scripting things out so that you have something down in front of you that you can actually follow, just to hold a trail of thought. On the other side of things is the technical tasks. So that's very much using the technology. You're going to be recording, you're going to be using a camera, you're going to be using the computer for editing, or maybe you're doing graphics. So a lot of that, if it's all new to you, which it was for me, it means upskilling. So you're breaking it down and you're approaching one hurdle at a time. That's how it doesn't become overwhelming. So you face each task as you go along. You don't look at the broader picture, you break it down. So if you require upskilling, which we all have to, we're not going to know everything all at once. You just, every hurdle you come to, okay, I need to figure out how to do this. All the information is already going to be on YouTube from other people's experiences. Thankfully, they've all put it up there. So you've got a huge body of knowledge up there already for you to reference to. So that way you have that support. And I really kind of view that the beneficial thing with YouTube is there is people who have come before you, and wherever you're at right now, there's always going to be people coming behind you also. So don't let that get to you. Don't feel like, oh, well, I'm not going to be good enough. I don't know how to do this, that, or the other. The same applies for everyone when they start. So all you do is cross each bridge as you come to it. Now, regarding the creative tasks, they're I view them in a sense of they're anytime tasks. You know, when you're coming up with a plot, when you're coming up with a story, when you're coming up with a script or even ideas, all of those things go on in your brain. You can do them at any time of the day, whether it's in the bath, walking the dog, you know, any time of the day. You don't have to sit and focus too much attention. That can be just playing over in your brain as you're getting on with your chores. So that's really great because, you know, you can get moments of creativity in the most random of times. You know, I find in work very often, you know, if I'm doing very methodical work and my mind wanders, I can come up with great ideas there and then, you know, so they can come to you at any point of the day. And the important thing is, if you're inclined to kind of forget, which I sometimes am, I will just go either jot an idea down or else I'll pick up the phone and just record a snippet real quick that I can develop later on. So definitely gather that information. Don't say, oh, I'll remember that later, because you may not. On the technical side of things, you're going to be required to do more time-consuming tasks. Even if you're efficient with computers, it still takes time for you to get the video recorded. Once you have that done, you're very much focused, and you're going to hear a lot about thumbnails. Now, thumbnails are what is going to be on the screen in the little box after, when you press play on somebody's video. What draws you, first of all, to the video? That's what a thumbnail is. So you'll discover as you're going along that thumbnails are actually quite important. Now, there's a lot of varying opinions on this. Some people are kind of saying now, at this point in time, that the trend is kind of veering more towards free-flowing, unedited videos. I still think visually thumbnails are beneficial, but it's probably a lot down to, you know, at the end of the day, it's your channel. You can go it whatever way you feel best. But I do think something striking, something that might stand out, will get more views just naturally. Something that really draws attention, you know, whether it's bright colours or whether it's, you know, flashy text or font. You know, those are the things that draw people in. And then it may not be you naturally, but once people are clicked in, then you have the opportunity to hook them with your own personality and put your own twist on the video itself. Editing as well is another thing that's time consuming. So those are all the things you're looking at that you actually have to sit down and dedicate a little bit of time. Writing your description as well underneath your video. That's a beneficial way to give a bit more insight into what you're saying. It's good to practice your writing also, but as well, it gives you an opportunity to use your hashtags there, which can increase your views as well. So just always make sure hashtag, comma, and a space, and you can tag on whatever hashtags you want to apply to your video. It also gives you an opportunity to direct people to your other social media sites, whether it's Instagram or any of the sites that you're on, depending on what you're doing. So back to the creative tasks, the creative tasks for me are the most exciting part, because it's very much about the story, it's very much about the writing, it's very much about coming up with the ideas. You know, you can add, as you're going along, you can start, like I'm at the point now where I'm starting to get a little bit more familiar with the editing. So I am now only starting to look at, you know, thinking about doing sound effects or adding music into videos. Again, this has been also new for me, that it has been a little bit like, whoa, but I did my first video with music a couple of days ago. So I was so proud of myself with that, you know, and you really have to kind of take each step that you overcome and you manage to figure out what you're doing. Really bask in that, because that's what keeps the joy in it for you, you know. To some people that might be something minor, but something like that for me is a big deal. So pat on the back, you know, if you can achieve that, you can achieve anything. It's all a very imaginative process, you know. So the thing I would say is just take everything step by step, break it all down. There's no time pressure. You're doing it for yourself, and don't run before you can walk with the process. One step at a time. So the next area I want to talk about is diversity in the content you're creating. You'll become familiar with the word niche as you progress on your YouTube journey. Now, niche is when a person has a specific skill or a knowledge base on a particular topic and they really zone into that, focus a lot, and just their content is about a specific skill that they have. There's a lot of debate for the pros and cons of niching, and you'll also hear about niching down. So you may be starting off with multiple ideas and then you're really zoning in on what you find works best for you. Some people might begin a channel with the intent on talking about one certain area of their life and then suddenly find that they're getting lots of views or lots of interest in something else that they've touched on, and they decide to really zone into that. So that's called niching down. For me, I feel it is really a personal preference what you would like to do. I don't really have a specific skill that I want to hone in on, but there's many things that I'm really interested in life. So for me, I've preferenced going a more generalistic approach towards my channel. Now, for a niche, for example, what I would say would be to go all in. If you've got the knowledge, you've got the confidence, and you have the skill set to really delve into something and monetize it ultimately very quickly, then I say go all in with that for sure. Particularly if it's something that's on trend, something you've done your research, you see other people who are interested in the same thing that you are, and you discover what they're doing, what's making them successful, then straight away you can go for that target and give everything to it, and that's great. Definitely recommend other people, because recommend to look at other people's pages for the simple reason you will see they'll already have tried many things prior to you starting your channel, so you can see what works, where they get their numbers, where they get their click-through rate, what sort of, you know, fonts they're using, what sort of thumbnails they're using to draw in their clients, what way they interact with their clients. So definitely do your research beforehand. Always take inspiration, you know. You can look at many people who are, you know, doing the same subject as you, and you can listen to their content, take inspiration. But what I would say is never copy somebody else, because that's a very transparent way of operating anyway. You know, you don't want to word for word copy anybody. You want to put your own twist on things. But certainly there's nothing wrong with taking inspiration and even taking things and just twisting them up a little bit and putting your own stamp on things. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but just don't copy a person word for word. So more generalistic side of things, which I would be under, means that you're unsure of your niche. So you don't really know what area to go on. That's not a problem. That's not something that should be a barrier for you, because, you know, it's like any journey. As you're going along, you're going to discover things that work and things that don't. So there's no need for any real pressure, you know. You can have ideas, you can have, you know, you can talk about anything you want really on your YouTube channel. So just kind of let it flow as naturally as you can, and you learn as you're going on. You know, do look into what's trending, because that's definitely a very good way of, I suppose it increases your confidence. You know, if you see something that's working and then you dabble in a video for that as well, and you kind of start getting some likes or some subscribers, it's going to give you a little bit of confidence. So don't focus too much about, oh, I want to be unique and I want to do everything. my own way. Don't focus too much on that. That's all well and good if you have a massive knowledge base. Maybe you've done YouTube before and you have a good solid background in it and you're approaching it now in a different way and you know what to apply. But in the beginning, if it's all new to you, don't really worry too much about having the unique ideas, because they can come later on down the line. For the moment, I would say just kind of hone in on your skills, learn as much as you can and develop as much as you can, and make sure and keep the feelers out, you know, because by gaining access to other people's work, you learn an awful lot, you know. It's so beneficial to be able to bounce ideas or watch other videos from other people, so that it kind of just really gives you a creative outlook, you know, and can motivate you to really develop your own style as well. Looking at quality versus quantity, we all know what comes first in that department. Quality is definitely the way to go. However, when you start out, everything is so new to you. You're familiarizing yourself with the video, your voice, using the different programs or the software. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a great thing to actually lash a few out and kind of overcome that first, I suppose, nervous disposition that you have when you start out. So in the beginning, I say it's a good thing to just lash some out and don't be worrying about it. You know, you don't need to get fixated on the quality right from the get-go, unless you're a little bit OCD or you're a little bit, you know, that way inclined, and of course you already have knowledge, then that's fair enough. You can get right down to the nitty gritty from the get-go. But if you're not and you're like me and everything is new for you, then I would say just really lash a few out, lash as many as you can out in the beginning, and don't be too pernicicky about it. After a certain time, when you start to get a feel for things, then I would say do the opposite. I would say focus a bit more on obviously putting the feelers out and, you know, learning as much as you can. But I would say start taking a little bit of time once you get a feel to actually slow your roll a little bit and start just trying to put a bit more effort into a video that you're creating, rather than having it out, because it really isn't, unless you have the keys to the city and you know something that nobody else does that's going to, you know, really fly off the shelf. I wouldn't advise for you to continuously stay on that path, because it is very time consuming. It is putting a lot of pressure on yourself, but you might also be just throwing things out there that aren't really going anywhere, and that's going to take its toll on you as well, and it's certainly going to kind of shed a more negative light on your experience of YouTube. So I would say after a couple of weeks of doing it, kind of slow your roll and just less is definitely more. Pay a bit more attention to the video you're going to put out there. So maybe writing in a bit more detail or scripting it a bit more if you want to try and flow it better. Maybe dedicating, if you preference doing editing, dedicating a bit more time to cutting out any little snippets that you're not happy with or whatever. That's your preference, what way you like to work things. But I would say it's definitely... So the next thing I'm going to recommend, and it's probably going to come as a bit of a surprise for you, but that is to take a break. You know, when you're creating a channel, there's so much involved and you can really kind of overdo it in excitement, really, and enthusiasm. And as with any technology or any media that you're on, you know, we are human beings at the end of the day, and you do need to take a break sometimes to recharge your batteries. You know, your mind is like a muscle, and if you exercise your mind a lot, in the gym, if you're exercising your body, you also need to have rest periods, you know, to allow to your muscles to function optimally. It's really, really essential, and it's also essential for the creative process. You know, if you keep maxing yourself out and burning yourself out looking at screens, trying to figure out different programs, or, you know, it really can kill the creativity as well. So it's really essential that you take a break from time to time and do something entirely different. You know, get back to your human roots and get out in nature and get a breath of fresh air or go for a walk. It's also about living life again, you know, and the more you kind of get that balance, it's beneficial for you actually, and it translates well into the content that you're creating, because when you go out and you have interactions with people or you do different things, it kind of fires off new areas that you can create content on, you know. It can really stimulate that and give you fresh inspiration. So it's really recommended that you take a break in between. It also gives you, you know, we all know the saying, seldom seen is wonderful, or what's the other one? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. And, you know, that's really, really true. When you come away from doing something like a YouTube channel, that period of time that you've not really thought about it or invested much time in, it really creates a new sense of excitement for you, and you start to feel inspired again, and you can't wait to get back to it to try something new or something different, you know. So that's another benefit of taking a break. Also, we know, you know, if you're ever studying for exams, you see people that'll stay awake all night trying to cram in as much as they can, but you actually get to a point where your brain doesn't take any more information in. So what you find is if you take that break and allow a rest period, you know, allow everything to settle and for you to absorb all these new things that you're learning, when you actually go back to it and you come to your next hurdle where you have to learn something fresh again, it sinks in a lot quicker. You know, you're not staring at a screen and not seeing things that are standing out to you, because sometimes when you get tired, you know, something can be staring you in the face and you just cannot see it. So taking that time, getting yourself rested and refreshed is really important. Now, something I didn't realize about, but I actually saw some other people on YouTube talking about it. So I didn't really know much about it, but you know, the workings of the algorithm. Seemingly, when you flood your channel with your new content, what actually happens with the algorithm is it doesn't get enough time for each video to circulate and to get it in front of other people before you create another one and put it up. So what's actually happening is it'll bounce on to the next one, and what you've created in your last one may get just lost in the sheer volume of what amount of content is on YouTube. So it's better to have a settling period and kind of, you know, a lot of people do their videos weekly. And I think once you get over the initial week or two doing it with the excitement and you're firing stuff up left, right and centre just for the practice, I think it is good then to get into a routine of just kind of making it a more weekly or maybe 2 a week if you want. But don't really overdo it, you know. As I say, for one of my last points, it's more about quality over quantity, or experimenting. Like that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I wanted to experiment. I've never done, regarding the editing, I've never done an audio before where I put images. I have done a collage with music, which was new. But this is the first time I've done this, and it's purely experimental. And because I'm in the early days of my YouTube channel, I feel like I have the freedom to do that. Whereas if I was more developed and I was more into a niche or whatever, you wouldn't. You'd be kind of, you'd want to be front and center on the camera all the time, getting your points across. But this is just experimental for me, and it can be experimental for you as well. You know, it's all learning at the end of the day, and it's all beneficial. The other thing about taking a break as well that's really important, we know it from all other areas of social media, you can actually find yourself kind of maybe posting content, and whether it's conscious or not, you can be kind of looking for what they classify as these dopamine hits, and that's when, you know, people are liking your content, or you're seeing the numbers adding up, or you're seeing people. That can be very exciting and all, but that's not really what it's all about, you know. It's really about self-development and learning new skills. It shouldn't be only about likes or comments, even though they're lovely as well, and they can get you up to being monetized. So I'm not dissing that at all. I mean, ultimately, that's the direction we all want to be going. However, you know, you kind of need to detach from that a little bit as well in order to enjoy the experience, because I would kind of, I would go as far as saying, you know, the more that you're enjoying what you're doing, the more that's going to come across in what you're recording. And if you're hell bent on just numbers, that kind of will create a friction where your energy isn't going to be that good. It's not going to be so natural, and it might even start to reek a little bit of desperation. So for your general well-being, you know, don't focus anything that you're doing online around getting the attention. Do it for yourself. If you want to post stuff up and it's for you, then fair dues, you know, carry on and go ahead about it. But I mean, detaching and taking a break from it as well, so that you're not kind of hung up on numbers or hung up, because that will absolutely kill the process for you. You're not going to enjoy it if it only becomes about numbers all the time. That's the way I would look at it anyway. But I mean, everyone is different, and that's the lovely thing with YouTube, that you find the diversity is enormous. So there's no rights or wrongs. It's just whatever makes you the happiest and that you thrive the best on, so that you can make your best work. The final point I want to make about not getting overwhelmed when you're starting your YouTube channel is really just to really reiterate to you to not be daunted. And you'll probably say, oh, that's all well and good, you know, but I know nothing. But all I can give you is my perspective. And truthfully, from my perspective, starting the YouTube channel, which is, I think I started it about 2.5 or 3 weeks ago. No more than 3 weeks anyway. But truthfully, I had no experience of anything to do with technology. I had so little experience of technology that I actually never even considered it. I never thought for a second. In my mind, I would have thought that would be the sheer definition of hell, trying to create something like a YouTube channel, because I was so ignorant to it all. You know, I would be one of these people that even just, if I forgot my password, you know, the hassle of trying to recreate a new password and go in and codes and numbers and this and that really stressed me out. So I was saying the last thing I would want to do is this. And it was just, if you go back in my other videos, you'll see I had a mindset shift. I watched a video from a bloke who I really admire, and the way he put things into perspective in one of his videos just turned all of my thoughts, all of my past conditioning up on its head. And I suddenly saw technology in a different light. Divine intervention, maybe it was, I'm not too sure, but it gave me a different perspective on technology. And I thought, oh, you know, I might give this a bash and see what it's all about and take it one step at a time. And his words were very encouraging as well, because he was kind of basically saying, you know, if you're patient and you just go one step at a time and just break it down, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, basically, is kind of what he was saying. So I thought, well, you know, I'll give it a bash. I'm not a total brain dummy, and let's just see how it goes. And that's what I did. So the thing I would say is, don't be coming up with excuses. If you feel you have something to offer, if you have, you know, talents or skills or knowledge in an area that you think could be beneficial, view it in the light of content creation isn't about, oh, look at how fancy I am, or look at how gorgeous I look, or look at my new whatever, you know. Content creation is about education as well as entertainment, and all of these things are beneficial for the whole planet to grow. Technology is taking us in that direction, you know. Everything is coming online now. You know, there's going to be a lot less work placements. There's going to be a lot less people in offices moving down the line. AI is going to change a hell of a lot as well. So if you feel that it's something you may like to try, don't let any excuses stand in your way. Just start. For many of the research that I did over, I think from the moment that I decided I was going to give it a try, I think within 24 hours I put my first video up. I just decided, oh, to hell with it. And that's the general recommendation that I'm seeing from an awful lot of people. So that made me feel actually that my own inner guidance was putting me in the right direction. That's kind of the consensus of most people who are up on YouTube and have, you know, overcome all the hurdles and are now confident and doing very well with hundreds and thousands of subscribers, they all say the same thing. You know, don't hesitate, just start and go from there. You're not going to be perfection when you start. You're not going to know everything when you begin. That's all patience and time and work. But you just cross each bridge as you come to it. So definitely it's not good enough reason to have excuses. I've actually observed myself under comments occasionally where people say, oh, I have all these great ideas and la la la, but I'm just so afraid to start, or I'm so afraid to go on the video. Yeah, all of those things are really scary, and all of those things are difficult for literally everybody when they begin. So you're not alone in that. Just start, you know. You're not going to overcome, or you're not going to learn any new skills until you start. That's the best way to do it. You can spend another 6 months, you can spend another 12 months trying to prepare yourself. But the best preparation is to do it in real life, in real time. Just get on with it, make your mistakes. We're human, we all make mistakes. And that's cool. We're learning, you know. And if anyone disses you for that and you're concerned about that, well, you know what? It's them themselves that are the issue, and it's them themselves who are holding themselves back because they're spending more time focusing on you than you are on them, you know. So try and kind of look at it from a different perspective. You're bettering yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. So stay going and keep your head up. So the next thing on my little bullet points there is learn or practice one new thing every day. Yeah, that's 100% certain. Things you'd never imagine you can do, you can actually once you apply yourself. And as I stated before, these softwares are so advanced now that, you know, you look at visuals, you look at graphics, and you say, in the name of God, I have no experience with any of that. How am I going to achieve that? But actually, when you go on these softwares, it's already there. You just have to decide what colors you use, what fonts you use, how big, how small, and do it in a playful manner. The more you play around with it, if you have a bit of time on your hands, play around. Play around before you go to bed in the evening or whatever, like any time of the day. Whenever you have a spare bit of time, play around and you discover new things. And every single new thing you get under your belt is a step in the right direction. One step at a time is progress, and it is. It well and truly is. And for anyone, each new thing that you learn really, really absorb and be proud of what you're doing because you're improving your life. That's the bottom line of it. I have to say my own experience of it is it's been a wonderful journey. It's been so enjoyable and I've learned so much so far, and I plan on continuing, and I can't wait until I'm more proficient. Well, I have to wait because it is a process, you know, it's not going to all come to me in the one shot, but it is a wonderful learning journey, you know, and I'm looking forward to the directions I can go with it regarding my own content or my own creativity or how it unfurls. I really see it like a flower, you know, that will blossom in time, you know, once the right conditions are met. So it just is a journey, and make it an enjoyable